how does God speak to people is the question. And the answer to this question is God speaks through Scripture, through events in our lives, through people we encounter, through dreams and visions, and in dozens of other ways. But
hold on.
Yeah.
Slow that one down.
Yeah.
Bible.
Okay.
Okay. I have that. I got Bible. God speaks Bible.
Events in our lives.
Experience.
People we encounter.
People.
Dreams and visions.
Oh my goodness. Visions. It's getting worse.
And then one of the most frequent places where God speaks to us is in nature.
So this can't be in order of reliability at all.
So
but,
her husband will be giving a talk and he'll ask the question, how does God speak to us? And these are the answers that they get back.
Okay. So, okay.
And so the fact that most people say that God speaks to us in nature led her
People say nature.
Yeah, led her in this chapter to address that. And she likes to call those moments of God speaking to us in nature Romans 1:20 moments.
Sure. That kind of.
And I'd have to go to
rings
Romans
a bell and
1:20
makes sense. Well, I can do it
look
for you.
at it specifically because
I got it right here. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Again, natural law. There's a creator. You find a house in the woods, you know someone built it. So if you look at nature, Paul says, you can tell God exists. His invisible attributes are clearly visible through what is seen. That doesn't mean that your atoning salvation is clearly visible from nature.
Right.
So basically, you look at nature, you can tell there's a God.
Yeah.
Like, duh. Like, you don't think that? Wow, are you mind warped?
So then she says we are without excuse for not knowing God if we simply take a stroll in our backyard. These Romans 1:20 moments are when we stand on a beach watching the sun go down, or climb a mountain, or sit beside a stream in the stillness.
Or watch a wolf tear the throat out of your sheep. That should be a God moment too. This is the problem, okay? It's wonderful, except for that you're saying God only speaks through nature sometimes.
We hear God's voice.
Everything he does in nature, he is speaking. What's he saying? Dear heavens, we're in a bad place. I mean, we've got to see it.
Yeah.
Yet it's still good. He's sustained it, right? So she's not wrong, but she's definitely
and then she goes on
seeing the whole picture
to say that several pastors they've spoken with will say that it wasn't in church that God told them to become a pastor, but in a cathedral, which is in nature. So she then calls
well, that's interesting.
Nature God's cathedral.
Because you think she's saying that the forest is a cathedral, as opposed to recognizing that a cathedral is beautiful because of its natural understanding, that the cathedral is a tribute in nature to God. But most people don't mean that when they say nature. They mean like trees and birds, right? So they're probably trying to make a joke about how the trees are the true cathedral, which is kind of true also.
And
but
then
it diminishes the cathedral as like God built the trees, now you build something with the trees. Like God did that on purpose. That's why we're here. We weren't here to die. We were here to build stuff with the stuff.
It just smells so new agey to me.
It absolutely is.
Get really uncomfortable about it.
Yeah, she's right on the fence of it.
Yeah.
And yet there's an underlying reality here, which is that Romans 1:20.
Yeah.
You can understand there is a God, and you can kind of get some stuff about him from nature. But it's Job's friend's problem. Like, you're not getting the whole picture.
Yeah.
You're missing something. Guess what you're missing? Mercy.
Right.
Not going to find mercy but the sunrise is so nice. It's not merciful. It's beautiful. It's not merciful. Nothing merciful about the sunrise. And let it keep going. It's going to show you how merciful it is in the desert, you know? So, so she is taking something that's true and then missing the piece that prevents her from speaking it in a way that doesn't sound like the Hindu paganism that everything else is. Doesn't mean she's actually trying to say those things, but Christianity has a tendency right now to be a bit limp-wristed in what we say.
Yeah.
We're not very careful about how we say it.
And then her husband likes to say that Jesus mostly taught on field trips, and so this kind of
It's just so demeaning.
exposes it. Yeah.
It's just so demeaning. It's so childish. Really. Golly. Field trips. What, from school kid prison? That's it. You know. Field trips are those moments when you weren't in kid prison. So, field trips. He was an itinerant rabbi.
Yeah.
Which is its own kind of weird, actually. Like, rabbis, generally, your goal was not to be an itinerant rabbi. Your goal was to get a good job at the synagogue, right? Your goal is that I know enough and am valuable enough to this town that they feed me. Mm-hmm. I don't need to wander.
Yeah.
I got a house, right? He's itinerant. Nowhere to lay his head. Doesn't have money. Doesn't want money. Weird. Who's this guy, right? And so he's not teaching in the auditorium up the street in Jerusalem. Like, he's out in the wilderness by that crazy guy John that people go out and throw like, tomatoes at. Like, what's he going to do next, kind of thing, right? Like, he's out where nobody would ever want to be, except that they're there to listen to him talk. Mm-hmm. Field trips. No one's on a field trip to listen to anybody talk. Let me tell you that, you teachers. No one went on the field trip to listen to you talk.
Yeah.
It's the worst metaphor. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it shows a lack of knowledge of even life in that time.
It shows
place.
addiction to a culture that is so passing it doesn't even know what it means when it talks.
Yeah.
Doesn't even know the reference. It throws the reference out there as nostalgia rather than as truth.